Alright, listen, Giants versus Patriots. Two franchises with some of the wildest history in the NFL. On one side, you've got the Giants, trying to prove last year wasn't just a fluke and that Daniel Jones can actually carry this team with consistency. On the other side, you've got the Patriots, a team in the middle of a full-on identity crisis, desperately searching for a quarterback answer post-Brady. This game isn't just about August football. It's about roster battles, who looks sharp, and who's wasting snaps. And if you think preseason doesn't matter, you haven't been paying attention, because this is where the real betting edges live. When you handicap preseason games, you need to throw the normal playbook out the window. Forget advanced metrics from the regular season. Forget yards per play, EPA, DVOA. None of that means much in August. Preseason is all about who's on the field, when they're on the field, and why they're playing. That's what separates casual bettors from sharps. If you're betting Carolina versus Pittsburgh the same way you'd bet Cowboys versus Eagles in Week 10, you're going to lose. The key is understanding rotations, motivation, and depth. Let's get into the quarterback rotations again, but this time from a betting props angle. Kenny Pickett's over/under passing yards for the preseason might sit in the 30 to 40 yard range. If the books even post it, don't touch it. Tomlin is not going to risk his starting quarterback in a meaningless game. Pickett will get maybe 2 or 3 short drives, tops. If you're betting Pickett props in August, you're lighting money on fire. The sharper move is to look at Justin Fields. He'll likely play the bulk of the second quarter, maybe even into the third, because the Steelers need to see what they have. Fields' rushing props will be inflated, but that doesn't mean there's no value. If they set his rushing line around 25 yards, the over is tempting because preseason defenses aren't game planning for QB contain. But the real value is in his interception prop. Fields is going to be forcing the ball, trying to prove he can operate in rhythm, and that's where mistakes happen. If you see a Justin Fields to throw an interception, prop at plus money, hammer it. That's the kind of contrarian prop that cashes in preseason. On the Carolina side, Bryce Young's props will probably sit around the same low number range. Here's where it gets tricky. The coaching staff might want to give him confidence, so instead of taking deep shots, you'll see short, scripted completions. That means his completion percentage might look good, but yardage won't. If you find a completions prop, the over could hit in a single drive. If it's yardage, lean under because they'll protect him with checkdowns. Andy Dalton is the sneaky prop play. Books don't set lines for veteran backups often, but if you see Dalton passing yards in the 70 range, consider the over. He's not fighting for his job, but he plays clean, and coaches like using him to stabilize things in the middle of the game. Dalton versus Pittsburgh's second-string defense is an edge I'll take every time. Now let's talk about running backs. Preseason is tailor-made for evaluating depth in the backfield. The Steelers don't need to see much from Najee Harris or Jaylen Warren. Maybe a drive, maybe 2, and that's it. After that, you're going to see Anthony McFarland and a bunch of guys trying to earn practice squad spots. That screams under on rushing props if they even exist. On the Panthers side, Chuba Hubbard is locked in as RB2, but he'll get some action just to stay sharp. After that, it's guys like Raheem Blackshear, who has been a preseason workhorse before. He runs hard, he's motivated, and he plays like the game matters because it does for him. If you can find a Blackshear rushing yards prop, that's one of those preseason overs you take without hesitation. Wide receivers, same story. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens are barely touching the field. Calvin Austin 3 might get some extended run, but the real evaluation is in the WR4 through WR6 range. Those are the guys who get targeted late because they're playing with quarterbacks who are trying to prove themselves. On Carolina's side, it's all about Jonathan Mingo and Terrace Marshall. Those two need reps, and they're going to get targeted. In preseason betting, you want the guys who are on the field the longest, not the stars who get one series. That's why I'd look at Jonathan Mingo's reception prop if it shows up. He'll be out there with both Dalton and Corral, and he's fighting to carve out a consistent role in the offense. Now, let's layer in historical context. The Steelers under Tomlin are 39-29 in preseason since 2007. That's one of the better marks in the league. But when you dig deeper, that record is inflated by earlier years. Recently, Pittsburgh hasn't been the same lock in August. In fact, over the last 3 preseasons, they're just 5-4. Still a winning record, but not the automatic cash it used to be. Meanwhile, Carolina is 2-7 in their last 9 preseason games. That looks ugly until you remember coaching turnover. Each coaching staff treats preseason differently. Frank Reich didn't prioritize winning in August. Dave Canales, on the other hand, is the kind of coach who will use preseason to send a message. That's why I throw past Carolina records out the window. This is a new staff, new system, and new attitude. Line movement tells the rest of the story. If you see Pittsburgh -3 and it doesn't move despite heavy public money, that means sharps are on Carolina. Sportsbooks don't just sit on one side of a lopsided ticket count unless they're confident the public is wrong. If this line drifts down to -2.5 or -2 by kickoff, you'll know sharp money forced the move. That's when you want to be on the Panthers. If, somehow, the line moves up to -3.5 or -4, that's when I'd hit Carolina even harder, because you're getting even more value fading the public. That's basic line reading, and it's one of the most reliable tools in preseason betting. Totals in preseason are a nightmare to bet because one busted coverage or one pick six ruins the under in an instant. But this is where you can get creative with SGPs. If you think the Panthers cover, pair it with the under for a plus money parlay. Why? Because Carolina covering means Dalton and Corral did their job, which usually translates to a slower, controlled pace, not a shootout. If you think the Steelers somehow roll, pair Pittsburgh -3 with the over. Because the only way Pittsburgh covers easily is if Fields actually finds rhythm and creates explosive plays. Correlated parlays in preseason aren't a bad strategy. They actually make more sense here than in the regular season. So let's build a same-game parlay in Kyle Kerm's style. Leg 1. Panthers +3. That's the contrarian anchor. Leg 2. Under 37.5, because preseason unders hit more often than not when backups are on the field. Leg 3. Raheem Blackshear over rushing yards, if posted, because he's the guy who will get volume in the second half. That 3-leg parlay will pay nicely, and all 3 outcomes correlate with the game script I'm predicting. Carolina hangs around, keeps it low scoring, and grinds it out with their running backs late. That's the kind of SGP you build if you're serious about preseason betting. Now, some people are going to ask, but what about Pittsburgh's edge in coaching? Sure, Tomlin is better than Canales. No argument there. But coaching edges in preseason aren't about game day decision making. They're about how much effort the staff puts into these games. Tomlin doesn't need to prove anything. Canales does. That flips the edge. If you're betting Pittsburgh just because Tomlin wins preseason games, you're 5 years too late. That edge is priced in, and the value is gone. The sharper move is to back the new coach who's trying to set a tone. Let's lock in the official pick. Panthers +3 is the side. Sprinkle on the money line because preseason is chaos and underdogs win outright more than people realize. Lean under on the total, but don't make it your main play because one busted coverage ruins it. Look at player props if posted, especially Raheem Blackshear rushing yards and Justin Fields interception. For a parlay, Panthers +3, under 37.5, and Blackshear rushing over is the way to go. Final score prediction stays the same. Panthers 20, Steelers 17. The public loses on the Steelers. The Sharps cash with Carolina. That's how you play preseason football. When you look at Giants versus Patriots in preseason, the casual bettor is already smiling. Why? Because Bill Belichick has a history of using August to iron out details, and Brian Daboll, the so-called offensive guru, has been inconsistent when it comes to preseason priorities. People see Belichick, even in his post-Brady rebuild, and they think, oh yeah, Patriots in preseason are solid. He'll have them ready. But that's the exact mindset the books want you to have. Belichick isn't in this game to win a meaningless exhibition. He's in this game to evaluate depth, test rookies, and see who survives the bottom roster churn. If you're betting New England just because it's Belichick, you're doing exactly what Vegas wants you to do. Now, let's flip to the Giants. Brian Daboll is entering a pressure season. His offense under Daniel Jones collapsed last year, the offensive line was a disaster, and Saquon Barkley's departure left a hole that they haven't truly filled. In preseason, though, this isn't about stars. Daboll uses August to test offensive rhythm, particularly with quarterbacks and wide receivers. What does that mean for bettors? It means the Giants are more likely to be aggressive early, throwing instead of running, and trying to create momentum for Jones. That doesn't guarantee points, but it does guarantee energy. That's an edge compared to New England, who will be content to run a vanilla offense and see what their rookie skill players can handle. Quarterback rotations decide everything here. The Patriots drafted Drake May in the first round, and if you think Belichick isn't going to showcase him, you're mistaken. May will get extended time in this game. He'll probably take over after Jacoby Brissett runs a short series with the starters. Brissett is as vanilla as it gets. Safe, reliable, won't put the ball in danger. But he's also not going to light up the scoreboard in August. That's not his job. His job is to hand the keys to May cleanly. Then it's all about the rookie. Now here's the thing. Betting on rookie quarterbacks in their first preseason starts is dangerous. Why? Because defenses blitz more in August than you realize. Coaches want to test young quarterbacks with pressure looks. May has all the tools, but he's still adjusting to NFL speed. That's where mistakes happen. If you're betting Patriots points with May, you're counting on him to overcome the learning curve instantly. That's not sharp betting. That's public hope. The Giants' rotation is different. Daniel Jones will get a short run, but remember, he's coming off a major injury last season. Daboll is not risking him in August. You'll see Jones for maybe 1 or 2 drives, and then it's Tyrod Taylor time. Taylor is one of the best preseason quarterbacks in football because he plays clean, efficient ball and knows how to move the chains. That's a huge edge. After Taylor, you'll see Tommy DeVito, the cult hero from last season who surprised everyone with competent play when injuries forced him into action. DeVito is fighting to solidify himself as QB2 or QB3, and he'll take preseason seriously. Between Taylor and DeVito, the Giants have the kind of rotation you want if you're betting on a team to cover in August. They've got veteran stability and young hunger. That's exactly what wins these types of games. Now let's talk about line movement. Patriots are opening as a slight favorite, around -2.5. That number looks soft enough to lure people in. You're telling me I can get Belichick in preseason at less than a field goal? Public bettors are hammering that instantly. That's the trap. This line should be Patriots -4 or -5 if New England really had the edge. The fact that it's not tells you the books are begging for New England money. If you've followed betting long enough, you know what that means. The sharp side is the Giants. If this line stays at -2.5 or drops to -2, you'll know for sure. Don't take the cheese. Vegas isn't giving you a Belichick discount for fun. They're setting you up. Totals are another headache here. The over-under is sitting in that classic preseason range of 36.5 to 37. Books know these games land in the low to mid-30s most of the time, and they've adjusted. The Giants are more likely to push the pace early, while New England is more likely to grind clock with the run game. That screams first half over, full game under. If you want a sharper angle, split your bet. Take the first half over and full game under. Why? Because by the second half, you've got third-string offensive lines trying to block blitzes, and that's where drives stall out. The first half is where Jones, Taylor, and may make plays. The second half is where games die. That's how you play preseason totals. Player props. This is where it gets fun. Drake May interception props are gold. Books might not post them, but if you see it at plus money, take it. Same with Tyrod Taylor passing yards overs if they're posted. He's efficient, he'll get extended run, and Dabble trusts him to execute. For New England's backfield, Ramondre Stevenson isn't touching the ball more than once or twice. Ezekiel Elliott, maybe the same. That means Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong are the volume guys. Look for their rushing overs. One of them is going to carry 10 plus times. That's the kind of preseason prop that cashes. On the Giants' side, Eric Gray will get work. He's a young back who needs reps, and Dabble will feed him. If his rushing prop is in the 25 to 30-yard range, take the over. Receivers are even more interesting. The Patriots have a crowded depth chart with Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, and rookies like Javon Baker. Don't bet props on the starters. Look for the rookies. They're the ones who will get targets late. On the Giants' side, Wan'Dale Robinson is coming off injury and might see some work, but the better bet is Jalen Hyatt. Hyatt has speed, and preseason is where speed kills backups. If his receiving yards prop is anywhere under 30, it's worth a look. Also, keep an eye on tight ends. In preseason, backup QBs love dumping it off to tight ends. Giants' Daniel Bellinger and Patriots' Anthony Firkser could see sneaky volume. Let's dive into coaching motives. Belichick doesn't care about wins in preseason anymore. He used to, back in the Brady days when culture was everything. Now, he's more focused on evaluating Drake May, backup offensive linemen, and defensive rookies. That's his priority. Dabble, meanwhile, is in year 3 and his offense has been under fire. He needs to show progress, even in meaningless games, to calm the noise. That doesn't mean he'll risk Daniel Jones, but it does mean he'll call a sharper game for Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito. Motivation edge. Giants. That's why the line smells fishy. Now let's cook up a same-game parlay. Leg 1. Giants plus 2.5. That's the contrarian anchor. Leg 2. First half over 18.5. That's where the action will be. Leg 3. Tyrod Taylor over passing yards, if posted. That's your clean 3-legger at plus odds. If you want to get wild, add Drake May interception. That turns it into a lotto ticket, but it's a sharp lotto ticket. That's how you approach preseason parlays. Build them around motivation, depth, and game script, not stars. Final prediction. Giants 23, Patriots 16. The public piles on New England because of Belichick, the rookie quarterback hype, and the name recognition. But the Giants' depth at QB and RB, plus their coaching motivation, make them the sharper side. The Giants cover, the under sneaks in, and if you played the first half over, you cash both ways. That's how you beat preseason lines. By ignoring the logos, ignoring the headlines, and reading between the lines. If you're rocking with me and you want these breakdowns all season long, do me a favor, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and drop a comment on who you think comes out on top between the Giants and the Patriots. I'm going to keep giving you honest, detailed breakdowns every single week, no fluff, no hype. Let's cash some tickets together.